Hello and welcome everyone to the Game Day Squad Queensland vs New South Wales live show. I'm your host Cal and I've got an awesome crew of fantasy coaches tonight here to give you all the analysis you need to take home the prize tonight. We are here, of course, because of Game Day Squad's brand new Queensland vs New South Wales competition, and there is $5,000 is up for grabs starting tonight. So if you are new and you do not have your your Queensland versus New South Wales squad ready to go, download your app, get it started. It's free to play, free to join. So guys, you're not going to be hearing from me all night because I've got a bunch of people with me who have won not only seasonal competitions, but many weekly prizes here on Game Day Squad as well. So I'm going to throw around to introduce them. I've got Moi Moi, a two-time champ of our Game Day Squad Rugby League competition. I've got JT, a classic winner, and I've got Quasi. Quasi, you're just a great guy. You've done well, but you've never been able to take home the chocolates in one of our seasonal competitions.
I'm still happy with that. Still happy with great guy.
Well, take it away. Do you want to tell everyone a bit about yourself? Yourself and Moi Moi obviously are from the Fantasy Bros. I'm not sure if people have seen you guys on Instagram. You're doing a great bit of content, not only in the rugby league space, but over in cricket. Do you want to have a quick chat about that?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Moi Moi and I got together, a couple of years ago, and with our love of fantasy, started with Supercoach NRL, and then obviously we jumped on board with Game Day Squad, and we put our heads together and thought there's a bit of a space here for us to get involved, and we do love a bit of stats and a bit of analysis. So we thought we'd put some of our talents together and join forces in terms of fantasy and stats and some analysis. So yeah, like you said, we've got our Instagram and our TikTok page where we have been dropping some stuff weekly with Supercoach Draft and then also with Game Day Squad analysis.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see, and obviously. Well, I know it works for Moi Moi. He's got the two-time champ there, but you do quite well. Moi Moi, what does it take to become a two-time champ of Game Day Squad?
Look, it's not easy. Plenty of time spent looking through all the stats. Plenty of time spent agonizing over those team selections. And I know a couple of the boys in the Discord are always breathing down my neck. So sometimes when I look at playing that pod player, I sort of second guess myself. And I think that's what's brought me down a little bit this year. I'm still hanging around the top, but certainly not finding it as easy as the last 2 years. So I'm excited about the challenge that a few of those boys are bringing in year 3.
Yeah, it's definitely heating up in our competitions this year. And you mentioned a couple of things there. You said stats, you said fire breathers, which is JT. That's your team name on Game Day Squad. You're also the man behind all of our write-ups and all of our data. I know you're excited. I know you told me you think New South Wales is going to get a win tonight.
I really hope so, mate. It'd be great to get a Game 1 victory, but Queensland have been a force to be reckoned with in the last 3 at home. So who knows what the new setup will bring and new coach. Hopefully it's a sign of good things to come.
Yeah, we will see. So how we're going to run this, guys, is you're not going to be hearing from me. So don't worry if you're tuned in and you are following along. I'm not going to be providing anything to this conversation. I'm going to be handing it over to these guys and letting them tell you everything you need to know. If you do want to get involved and you do have a question for the guys, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, just put the question in below and we'll get the guys to answer it as we go through. But how we're going to run this is, guys, we're just going to go line by line. We're going to see who you've picked. You guys are going to talk about it. You're going to talk about why you left people out, why you've gone with some people, and I'm pretty keen to get stuck into it. So without further ado, let's start with the first position group, which when you all submitted it, and I don't know if you guys know each other's teams, but you've all gone the same in Robson. But JT, we might start with you because in the first draft you sent me, you actually sent me Harry Grant. So tell me about why you had him in there, what got you over the line. Take it away.
I was actually considering running with both him and Robson until I looked into the numbers and minutes a little bit more further to it. But the reason why I did like Grant to begin with is the makeup of the Queensland bench this time round. And they've got Cobbo sitting there in the number 17 jersey. Last year, they ran with Grant and Hunt as their two hookers, as well as three forwards in that rotation. So I think there might be the opportunity to gain a few more minutes than he did last year. And especially if I don't like wishing for injuries, and I'm never going to do that, but we've seen how many halves have been injured this year. Just imagine if that was to happen tonight. There's that additional upside. He may get some extra minutes. If there was a half to be injured, then Hunt would fill in that role and he may become an 80-minute hooker or early in the game. So there is that possibility. We don't like to see it, but there is that big pod chance with Grant tonight. What do you guys reckon about that?
Yeah, JT, I agree with you, mate, based on the bench that the Queenslands have chosen this year. But interestingly, Grant and Hunt did share a lot of minutes in last year's series, and that was Billy Slater coaching, and he's back again this year. And what was interesting was that the first game of the series, Hunt played 52 minutes and Grant played 57. So they were on the field at the same time. But after that, in game 2 and game 3, they basically shared minutes, and it was Hunt that only played 28 and Grant played that extra sort of 58. Well, sorry, Hunt played 22 and Grant 58. And then in game 3, which Queensland actually lost, Grant played 48 and Hunt a few less with about 39. Because Cobbo's on the bench, if a back does go down, it's less likely that I see Hunt taking the field and taking place of that injured player. So therefore, I think Grant's time on the field could still be fairly limited, and therefore his ceiling's pretty capped. Was that the same thinking you had, Quasi?
Yeah, I dug a little bit deeper and looked at some of the stats from the last 3 years in terms of Harry and what he's offered off the bench. And if we converted some of those stats to GDS points, he's only averaging 32.7 off the bench. So I think there's more upside there for Robson. So I tend to agree with everything that's been said about Harry Grant off the bench. And then in terms of Robson, I think he's got a great opportunity. You know, we look at the bench of New South Wales and their makeup, and you know, potentially he could be an 80-minute hooker. McInnes there, it scares me a little bit. He might sneak into hooker and just to give Robson a bit of a break. But I think, you know, maybe that train of thought might be the same for everyone else here, since we've all gone Robson.
Yeah, just on that, the makeup of the bench, JT, you might be able to give us a bit more info or insight being a Blues fan, but do you see Burton coming onto the bench at all? I know the Blues have run with a pretty big and mobile pack, but I think it was Phil Gould that came out with some stats saying that this season in the NRL, a team that's had an injury to an outside back has only gone on to win the match 14% of the time. Is that something that the Blues are probably worried about? And could Burton be a late chance to get on the bench?
I really think he could come in for either Leniu or Young, to be honest, especially after we saw what happened to Turbo in game 2 and the third minute last year, and we saw Cook go into the centres. The Blues do not want to see that happen again at all. Like, we just saw how leaky that right edge defence was. Cook just doesn't have the pace. So someone like Burton, who's played in the centres before, will be an ideal fit. And if that was to happen, you've got enough flexibility within that Blues backline to push a centre out to the wing or vice versa. So I can see that in the realm of possibility, which would mean Yo would probably get increased minutes, all that sort of carrying as well. But it's going to be really interesting to see how that Blues rotation works either way.
So I think we'll be having a bit of a mad rush at 7 p.m. when the final teams are announced to make some changes if they do throw some curveballs. What I do hope for is an injury-free match. I know that's pretty tough today's day and age, but then we'll get to know a little bit more about the rotations that the coaches are thinking about, and therefore we might be, have a bit more information, a bit more insight for game 2 and game 3.
Yep, for sure.
Was it last year that Turbo went down within the first few minutes in game 1? Am I remembering that right?
Game 2, I believe it was.
Yeah, I remember.
Was that toward the end of the match where Hines came on for that short stint and missed that tackle that sort of led to the victory?
Maybe you probably have a better recollection of that than I do. I just remember something early. Everyone was upset with it. So, anything else anyone wants to say on the hookers, or are we going to move on to the next position? Oh, good. All right. Sounds like we're going to move it on. So what I love about what you guys have done with the mid forwards here is you've all got someone completely different. So Moy, you've got Trbojevic there. JT, you've gone McInnes. And Quasi, you've gone Hopgood. So I want you guys to talk through it. Talk about the Hassan Carrigan being an absolute lock. And then maybe talk to me about Yo off the bench, because I know that has been something that people have been talking a lot about. Sorry, that's to you, JT. You can kick it off.
Oh, sorry, I thought we were getting more.
Sorry, it was Moy. My bad. You went last time.
Gotcha. Sorry about that. We'll get the hang of this in a minute. All right. Well, I guess I'll start off with Jake Trbojevic then, since am I the only one with Gerbo? Yeah. So, look, I've still got a question mark next to him. I'll throw a little asterisk out and saying that team you see on the screen might not necessarily be what I run with. But I like the unique pick here of Gerbo, who, look, he rarely offloads and he doesn't break many tackles, but he's been given the captaincy this year. So I think that means he'll be, that little bit more confident to lead his pack. And we know that he just rips in with plenty of heart every time he takes the footy field. So along with that captaincy, does he see more minutes? Burton on the bench would make this a bit of a better pick. So he's still got that question mark, but I still like the pick given his captaincy. Just on that with Isaiah Yo, I think it was Fesmond who asked in the chat. So Fez, I'll see if I can help you out here, mate. But with Isaiah Yo, over the last year, he played 80, and then 54 off the bench in game 3. And for GDS scores of 56, 61, and 43. So I think if the team stays as it's named, he might only get 50 to 55 off the bench. He still might be among the leading tacklers, but his ceiling's still probably capped at 40 to 45. So I think, like JT mentioned earlier, if Burton does get named on that bench, you could probably play him with a little bit more confidence. But maybe Quasi will have a bit of information about who might be a better pick than my Jake Trbojevic.
Yeah, maybe. I guess for the same reasons you went Gerbo, I kind of lean towards Hopgood. Again, we come back to that bench, and with Cobbo and Grant there, I would expect Hopgood to have a few minutes on the field. And we know how he plays. He rips in every game. He's got, like you said, like Gerbo, he's got his heart on his sleeve. He tackles his butt off for Para, so I would expect the same thing coming in for Queensland. So, I could see Hopgood coming on. And if he does get that 40 or 50 minutes, I think he really could, score a decent total for us. I guess it's a similar position that Carrigan was in a couple of years ago, game 1, I think it was, where he came off the bench. He had 67 minutes off the bench, and I think he made something like 34 or 35 tackles. So, if we can get something like that off Hopgood with potential offloads there as well, I think there's definite upside with him.
Yeah, no, I like that take. He was definitely on my radar. It was between him and McInnes that would maybe clutch that 5th spot. Yeah, it's all about the rotation. Like Quasi said, I had a little bit of look to see what Mo Forawaka did off the bench last year, and he didn't play any more than 30 minutes in any of the games. So if he's covering that mid position, you can easily see a bit of a change up with Carrigan. Even maybe he could go into the prop rotation possibly if Hopgood was what needed to go back to 13. Who knows what's going to happen, but I can see Carrigan spending most of the time at 13. But Also, Nanai didn't play the entire lot of minutes last year, and we do know Hopgood can also fill in on the edge. So I really like that pick. But I've gone with McInnes, and he's just a tackle bot, that man. A lot of us may have been disappointed after Dale Finucane's retirement with his minutes not increasing for the Sharks. And he's only really playing 50 to 55 minutes a game, and I can see those sort of minutes, 60 minutes max. But he just rips in. He really does. But also, Robson didn't play the full 80 minutes in Game 3 last year either. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if we see McInnes slot into hooker at some stage, if required, sometimes throughout that game. So there might be a lot more work in the middle for McInnes, and that's why I've got him as my 5th mid-forward.
Yeah, so I alluded to the asterisks with Trebojevic, and McInnes would be the best replacement if I don't end up running with him for the main reason you said there about potentially moving into hooker if Robson does have a spell. But I feel like with McInnes, we know he gets down and dirty and he does a lot of that hard stuff. I wouldn't be surprised to see him just go nuts for the first 20 or 25, just tackle all day long and, help New South Wales with their defence, and then he'll just be gassed and come off for a break. There's still so many question marks over this, but I might go the safe play and run with McInnes. Quasi, I did notice that you haven't picked Cotter, and JT and I both have him in our teams. I think Billy really trusts him. He's given him 80 minutes over the last 3 games last year, even though he was named on the bench in one of them. I think he played 80 on the edge. So Billy just loves him, and he won that Wally Lewis medal last year for Player of the Series. So do you want to run us through why you haven't gone with him?
Yeah, I guess that's probably my asterisk is waiting for some team lists and to make that final decision. When we flick over in a minute, we have a look at our edge forwards. I've picked an extra edge forward at the moment. And, in my head, I'm sort of thinking that we generally see edge forwards have a bigger ceiling. Obviously, Cotter, has that really safe floor. Like I said, he'll get down and dirty and he'll get, those minutes and, he'll make a bunch of tackles. I think he was one of the leading tackle makers in last year's series. So I think that, potentially I could drop back to Cotter and probably drop maybe Angus Crichton out. But yeah, I've gone with the extra edge at the moment, just based on that ceiling, looking for those extra points there with some potential attacking upside.
Ooh, I think you'd be a brave man to leave Angus Crichton out, but I think we'll get to him shortly. Anything more, JT?
No, not from me. I was just actually having a look at Cotter's numbers, really, and they were really quite amazing last year. Yeah, like you said, he played 80 in every game. He was another tackle bot for that Queensland team, and he just represents what Queensland is really as a player, that really gritty, take them off at the kneecap sort of thing. Just really gets down into it. So he's got that great Queensland spirit that Slater loves, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does another 80 in the middle this year.
And do you think we need to talk much about Haas and Carrigan? They're probably locks, and they'll play the bigger minutes and probably score the biggest points for us. So we're happy with them.
Yeah, I don't think there's any looking past those two, from my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked a couple of weeks ago with Haas playing, all 80 minutes in the Broncos Titans game. I think that, imagine if he comes out and plays 80 tonight, it'd be unreal.
He scored a try in that game as well, didn't he?
I think he did. First try, I think, as well.
Yeah, nice.
Love it. All right. Well, we might move on to the next position. It was just good to hear JT talking, as a New South Wales fan, talking so kindly about the Queensland spirit. You don't get that very often, and definitely not an hour before kickoff.
It's still before kickoff, mate. Wait until 1 minute past 10 and it all changes.
Yeah, I'm sure. You're obviously based over in New Zealand, for everyone wondering. Why is he watching it so late? So yeah. JT's staying up to watch it. That's how much you love it. We're going to talk about edge forwards here. Now, Quasi, the others have gone with Crichton as well, but you've gone with 3 here. So did you want to talk about why you've maybe chosen someone like Martin over one of those other mids?
Yeah, and again, I sort of had a look at stats over the last 3 years. And it based on the last 3 years, it looks like Queensland's left side defence is a little bit weaker. So, If Martin does line up on the right, then potentially that will be an option. But again, it's going to come down to those final team lists. I think his GDS score on the right side for all edges was about 36.5. I think I've got 36.5. So it's a little bit lower, but again, there's some attacking upside there. You look at the New South Wales team and the number of Panthers or ex-Panthers that are playing or potentially playing, and I think there's chemistry there, and Martin could be a big part of that.
I'll butt in here. Hey, Quasi, what do you think about the use of Haumole Olakau'atu tonight? We know he plays mostly on the right for Manly, and he's so damaging that he just simply needs to be on the field. And Liam Martin, might be the one to lose a bit of time, or will he move into the middle? And JT might be able to give us a bit of insight as well there. But what do you think first, Quasi?
Mate, and you're spot on. I would have actually picked Haumole over Liam Martin. Obviously, I'm not an expert in the coaching or selecting, but Hamole's been absolutely unreal. He's probably one of the best right edges in the comp. If not the best, and he's been so damaging. So he's always a risk. Liam Martin's always a risk if Haumole comes on and takes over. Especially if there's a really good game, then Liam Martin might not find his spot back. But I guess from potentially Michael Maguire's point of view, he's going with some trusted players that have done the job in the past, although maybe not as often as they'd like. And see how they go. So I'll be really interested to see what that looks like in terms of minutes and where Martin might end up, whether that is only 40 minutes on the field or even less potentially. So obviously that is a bit of a risk to take, and maybe with those final team lists that might be one of my changes that I do make. But I guess JT might be able to speak more to the selections there as well.
I think you're on mute, JT.
Sorry to start again. I was clicking away, getting up what I needed here. My main concern about Martin is the Haumole factor on the bench, and that's basically all it comes down to. I did have a look in to see what Martin did last year in Origin. He played 61 minutes in Game 1 and Game 2 and 80 minutes in Game 3. Over that time, he averaged just under 37 points, only with one score of 51 points, with being high 30 and a 28. So even if he was to be getting that 50 to 60 minutes, I just don't see too much of a ceiling unless he was to cross over for a try. That's just my opinion, and I just think middle forward is a better way to go on your bench, just because they have generally bigger scorers within GDS, especially with the players you have involved in this game, like your Yos, your Hopgood, your McInnes. We all know what they can do at the NRL level, and you throw in the auto picks of Carrigan and Haas already. And like you already alluded to, Quasi, like you like the upside of Gerbo this week as well. So, Moimoi said that earlier. I just think there's too much talent in the mid-player pool just to compared to the unknown around this New South Wales edge position at the moment.
And to add on to that, we haven't even spoken about the weather yet. I haven't looked at it recently, but as far as I know, it's going to be pretty wet, and generally those wet games mean a bit more of a grind. So those middle forwards, are more likely to be racking up those tackle numbers, and less likely for those wider players on the edge like Martin to find the try line. Also, he doesn't have Cleary inside him this year, and that was a big reason, I think, for Martin's success. Put him in any other club, and I don't think he's the side edge back rower as he is at Penrith. I think he's got a lot of thanks to give Nathan for a lot of his accolades, but without Cleary and having to make that combination with Hines on the right, I don't see too much upside in Martin. But it's time we talk about why we've selected Sua over Nanai. What do you reckon, JT?
Nanai just hasn't really performed at a GDS level for me, at Origin level. I think Seward is more of a solid defender, less missed tackles. He may not be the same attacking threat, but looking at that bench, I think Nanai, like looking at his numbers last year, he might be more likely to make way if things aren't going Queensland's way above Sewer. Yes, he's been there on the scene longer than Sewer, but yeah, I'm going to try and take my Dragons hat off right now, but I really think he's more of a solid defender. And this, like you said, alluded to, I reckon it's going to be quite wet. And I don't think those conditions suit Nanai's game at all. He's great in the air, great taking the kicks. Yes, it's not going to be Townsend. I think we'll see Dearden on the opposite edge to him as well. So I just don't really like that combo with DCE at an Origin level.
Yeah, and I guess, you look at Jaden Sewer and who he's left out of the team, or he's taken the place of David Fafita, who's we've seen in the past is an absolute beast. So he must be doing something right for Billy to go, hey, let's take a punt on him. So yeah, I guess that's one of the main reasons why I've gone him as well. Also looking at Nanai's, previous 3 years, he's only averaged 14.1 GDS points when he started on the edge. So for me, that's, automatically that's sort of a red flag that I'm happy to avoid.
Yeah, I agree. Billy must trust Jaden Sewer to pick him above David Fafita. I reckon they'll use Sewer quite a bit and get him to run at Nico Hines. We know that Hines we'll probably talk about this more a little bit later, but Hines has entered the match, under that injury cloud, and he probably wants to be doing a lot more in attack. So if Queensland can direct that traffic at Nico, that'll be through Jaden Sewer, who can run the ball nice and hard. And then, once the outside backs in probably Lomax and Sewer right-hand side as well, they might want to jam in and help Nico out. And that's when Reece Walsh will find some space out the back. And that's probably where Queensland can exploit the Blues.
Yeah, and if you look at the stats again, Queensland left edges, they've been so dominant compared to the right sides over the last couple of years. So like you alluded to there, the potential combination or debut combination of Lomax and Swilly, could be, have their hands full if Sewer's running at them, and then we've got some unreal, left side attack outside of them as well.
All right, I think that's probably a good place to move on to the next group. Just before we do, I think we're coming up to an hour before lockout. So if you are joining us and you haven't got your squad ready for Queensland versus New South Wales tonight, you've got an hour to go. If you've got any more questions for these guys, let them know in the chat. We'll make sure they get answered. Guys, we're going to move on to the halves. I know it is weird not seeing Cleary in here for me, but we're going to have, there's obviously, we can see Hines across all the different squads as well as Evans. But again, you've all gone with another pod. So Stewie, you've gone Dearden, JT, Luai, and Quasi, you've gone Hunt. So JT, I might throw to you, maybe make the case for your pod, and then I'm sure we can touch back on Hines and Cherry Evans in a moment.
I just think Luai's starting to grow as a player more at the NRL level. Yes, I know it is State of Origin coming up, but we just saw what the Panthers did to the Sharks, and did he turn up? I think got like 97 points in GDS or something ridiculous, his highest ever score. Yes, this is Queensland. It's going to be far better defence. He's not going to have that run of the game beside Hines, but I just think he's really sort of growing. It's more of a narrative than a numbers play, and being in front of a home crowd, I really think he's just due to stand up and try and get a little bit more outside of Cleary's shadow. And his numbers aren't all that bad at Origin level, especially when we haven't seen Dearden play a full. Have we seen Dearden full? I have to look into that. I don't think he has, but he was on the interchange last year. In the wet conditions, I think it's going to be more of a lower game than a Dearden. Hunt did come into the consideration. It's just the minutes concern for me, but it's splitting hairs almost between these three. And that's what it might take to win this competition tonight. It's going to be so close. Like, everyone's going to be playing very similar squads, and it might come down to this one position that might change the outcome of who's top and who's not.
Yeah, absolutely. I like what you said about Luai having that massive game against the Sharkies a week or two ago. But I think what stood out for that was the fact that Nathan Cleary again wasn't playing. So he had that extra responsibility. And, with Schneider and Jack Cole playing in the halves over the last few weeks, that's when we've seen Luai shine. But when he's got Cleary alongside him, he's not that dominant ball player. He'll catch and pass. He'll do his little jink back inside. And in Origin, he's not going to find that same sort of space. Nicho Hynes is quite similar to Cleary in a sense that he wants the ball in his hands all the time as well. And we've even seen a lot of Nicho's numbers drop in club games when Trindle's playing on that left-hand side, just because he's not getting the ball in his hands as often as he wants it. So if New South Wales want to win tonight's game, it's probably through the ball in Nicho's hands a little bit more often than Luai. And do we see Luai take that back seat like he does when Cleary's playing at Penrith? That's probably the main reason that I've left him out there. I think Quasi will probably be able to explain this a little bit better than me, but I think Dearden might have started, was it 2 years ago when Munster was injured, and he threw that lovely cutout ball to Val Holmes early in the game. And I think Dearden just epitomises state of origin footy. He's so tough, but he's so little. But he'll put his heart in and he'll rip in for that full 80 minutes. So I can see him getting through plenty of work, particularly in the wet, where he'll have to make a few more tackles. And like we've already said a few times, that left edge of the Maroons, if they are up against that, that full debutant side in Hynes, Suoliti and Lomax, then Dearden could have a little bit of success down that channel. But Quasi, has he played that full game? Do you know?
Yeah. So like you said, game 3 of 2022, he did play the full 80, got 55.3 GDS points. So pretty good effort, and had a lot to do with the win. In that same game, there was Kalen Ponga who scored 107 GDS points. So, unfortunate for Queensland, we don't have Kalen Ponga at the back. But in terms of Dearden, I did look at him, and I guess the reason why I stayed away at this stage is his probably unsafe floor. I think I'm a little bit concerned. Like you said, he's probably going to have to make more tackles, and that's probably a given in the kind of conditions. Fatigue might come into the play there as well if he has to make more tackles. But I'm just a bit concerned he doesn't in-play kick as much as DCE does, to the point where I think in that game where they were both halves, he kicked 31 metres within that game, whereas DCE kicked for 642. So, that's where my worry is. Our halves, they make up so much of their points through their kick meters, through their run meters, and then anything above that is obviously from their attacking stats. So you're really picking and hoping that he has a really good game in attack. Like you said, by all means, he probably will, based on the right side that we're looking at the moment.
Look, I think that's why we all played DCE. We just know he's going to get through that work and have plenty of kick meters. I've just seen a funny comment pop up. I'll get to that in a sec. Bring
it up for you now.
Yeah, what does it say, Cal?
So this is Harry, so otherwise known as Penrith in the Game Day Squad community. Someone I believe you just beat, Moi Moi. I think he was second to you last season, just like calling that out to Harry. He asked, as a half, would you rather Liam Martin or Homole coming out of the line when you ball playing?
Well, I did play a bit of half back in the day, but where's option C for none of them? I'm probably walking up the tunnel and saying someone else can take over. Look, they're both big boys, and Liam Martin's just he's insane, isn't he? Just runs as hard as he can, and Homole's massive. So no one for me. I'm walking away. I'm hiding.
I want to have some good protection either side of me to be able to make that tackle for me, as I'm on my heels going back ready to defend the next set.
Yeah, I don't want to put too much shade on Harry's boy there, being at Penrith, but just by a smidgen, I would prefer to be probably trying to tackle Martin. Just a smidgen. There's not much in it, but yeah, both are going to really, really hurt.
Hey boys, one thing I did want to talk about for the halves, we haven't really mentioned about our card rarities. I think the halves might play a big role with those rarities. Any insight, Quasi, what you're looking at with your Hinds, I think I'm only going to play his bronze. And we probably won't need to get into this in too much detail. But look, I'm a bit worried about how he goes, and Cherry, I might roll out a gold, given I'm a bit more confident with him. But I'm going to have a quick chat about what rarities we're looking at for the halves.
Yeah, I'm with you. I went bronze for Hinds. I guess the calf injury or the calf issue is a bit of a concern there as well. And so, yeah, I've stuck with the bronze with Hinds. I'm fortunate enough, I've got a nice Queenslander DCE that I'm going to run with tonight. So I'm hoping for a big game from DCE, and let's see if we can get those 640 kick meters again for me so we can roll out that nice Queensland coloured DCE.
Love that. I'm a little bit jealous as well. What about you, JT?
At the moment, I'm sitting with a silver Hinds and a silver DC. I've got the flexibility. I've got a 200 sitting there at the moment. So one may become a gold, but I think this is a game that, looking at last year's Origin, the points are so evenly split across the middles, halves, and also outside backs to a certain extent. So last year's highest average play was Isaiah Yeo at 54 points. Munster was at 53, Haas was at 51, and Toto was at 50. Bringing in at fifth was also the Hammer at fifth as well. So they were the only 5 players that averaged over 50 points across the Origin series last year. So GDS points are going to not be as easy to come by, I believe. And especially in these conditions, yeah, I see the injury count aside for Hinds. I understand the bronze, but I still think you're looking at maybe 40 points there. But middle forward might be the place where it may be an idea to spend some of that cap.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where I've gone a little bit bigger, and some of the outside backs, just the low bronze rarities. Anything more for the hards, guys?
No. We'll move it. I've got a question about some of the other rarities across where you're going to be deploying the cap as well. I believe the teams are going to be announced any minute, so I know you guys are desperate
I've been
for that.
refreshing.
Yeah. We'll make sure we'll touch on it, and we'll come back to
good.
all the changes as they do come through, because I know they are going. You've put a few asterisks. You've left yourself a bit of wiggle room, but let's move on to the centers. Now, sorry, I'm just bringing up what I've got here. So Holmes in everyone, but JT, you've gone, and Stewie, you've gone Lomax, and Quasi, you've gone Crichton. So Stewie, is Quasi making an error by going Crichton?
No, I don't think so. I think this is a really tough position to pick. What I like most about Lomax is, and I'll probably need to look at the pre-game just to make sure on the warm-up he's lining up in that right wing spot. There's that small chance that he might find himself at right centre. He's played a lot of time at the Dragons at right centre, and Suolii's really only played on the left, and we still don't know exactly how the Blues will line up. The mail is that Suolii is likely to be that right centre. But if I do see Lomax on the right wing, I'll be far more confident to play him as a winger playing in the centre. I can see Lomax getting through plenty of run meters on those kicks. I think the Maroons will look to kick early and turn around those big boys from the Blues, and that only means plenty of time for Lomax to get his hands on the ball. And we know he loves it. Some sets he'll take 2 carries, and he's got that awesome fend. And we know how important those tackle breaks are, that the more times Lomax has the ball in his hands, the more points he's likely to get. With Crichton, he's a great defensive centre. But I just don't see him getting through as much work as Lomax. Did that come into calculations at all, Quasi?
Yeah, just on Lomax, the other thing I really like about him is he seems to be involved with that kick chase. He loves chasing down that kick, and he's had a couple of decent tries where he's jumped up and taken the ball out of the air, in the face of either the winger or the fullback. So, that could be a definite option that New South Wales are looking to exploit as well. The reason I've gone Stephen Crichton, and it comes back, I think you touched on a little bit, there's obviously a bit of doubt about where they're going to line up. I guess common sense hopefully prevails, and he jumps over onto the left side with, the combo of Luai and To'o, being an ex-Panther and winning so many premierships together. I could see that chemistry working really well. If he does go to that left side, then he's a lock for me. Based on the last 3 years of GDS points, the Queensland have allowed left centres 43.8 GDS points, which is 7 more than the right side for New South Wales. So if there's going to be some points scored for centres, I think it's going to come on that left side there for New South Wales. So if Critter does line up there, then I'm definitely locking him in. And on that, we've seen, going back a few years, we've seen Whiten really burn that right side of Queensland in the past, and I've got some horror stories and some nightmares of seeing Whiten run and burn that right side. So I think we look at Critter, he's probably better than Whiten, to be honest. Sorry, all the Raiders fans out there that used to love a Whiten.
He's a Bunnies player now.
Now he's Bunnies player. Come on, yeah, let's go. Had to get it in there. But I think Critter will have an unreal game if he's on that left side.
I think JT's pretty. He's seen that kick to Lomax plenty of times, hasn't he? JT's Lomax trying to get a try.
I'm trying really not to make this a homer pick, man, but I prefer him on the wing than doing the round the back pass from centre, man. But you can do it back and field from the wing. That's worked for Hunt to get under the post before the season. So I just think he's really good in the air. He's a hard worker, like you mentioned earlier. He chases hard on every kick. He's always trying to get in the action, does those hard yards, goes looking for the action as well. And look, I've got nothing against Critter whatsoever. I just wasn't that impressed with his GDS form in the sense last year. He averaged, I think it was 30 or 31 points, and the highest score was 33, the lowest was 28. There's just not too much of a ceiling, I don't see. And the Queensland centres haven't really changed all that much either. He's still probably going to be lining up against the same centre that he was last year as well. Prefer if he was to line up against Holmes because, yeah, we've seen Holmes get owned a few times in and around the last couple of years. So, yeah, you can get that right thing going and put him on his backside maybe and get a few tackle breaks. But I just think it's more likely that Lomax is going to be scoring a try than Crichton is, and that's where I like the upside playing him.
Yeah, I'm with you there, mate. And I think Holmes is, we've all picked him, but we know he's probably capable of plenty of errors. I think he might be leading the NRL with errors, and he can miss a few tackles every now and then. But Quasi, why have you picked Holmes?
Yeah, exactly what you said. I'm a little bit nervous about the amount of errors that he could pick up, but I guess maybe that's going to be outweighed by potentially goal kicking, but then also the attacking upside that he brings as well. We see it. I think that maybe it's the 3-to-1 rule. One really good attacking stat for every 3 negatives that he has. So we want to, make sure that, he's really having an attacking game. And I guess, again, it comes down to which side he's going to line up. He potentially could be on that right side. He might swap over to the left. So, we might have to have a little peek at some pre-game soon to see if, that's going to give us any indication of where he is.
Yeah, I keep on refreshing NRL, and I think everyone's doing the same thing. It's taking forever. I can't see the update.
I think both teams have been named 1 through 17, and Burton staying as 18th man.
Yeah, so that's confirmed.
Yeah, that's really surprised me. I thought there'd be some changes somewhere. But I mean, yeah, so that's what we planned for. But now I think the next thing is to get a peek of that warm up and see who's playing where and make those last minute changes.
We'll keep rolling so everyone can definitely have some time to jump off this after and make those changes. Someone was saying that as I found my microphone, I told you at the start, I'm not going to be contributing. I am not the rugby league guy here at Game Day Squad. I'm here just like the rest of everyone else, just to learn from these guys and put the squad together. I've got a platinum Holmes. Why? Because I think he's one of the few platinums I've got. So I'm all in on Holmes. So yeah, I'm hoping for an error-free night. We'll keep it moving because everyone's gotten Toto in the wingers, but we've gone Togalangi in with Quasi and Stewie. But JT, you've gone Coates as the difference. So Quasi, I'll throw it to you this time. Mm-hmm. Is JT making a silly decision here?
Yeah, maybe. We look back at the last 3 years of stats, and wingers for Queensland haven't done that well. So, potentially we've all made a really bad error. But I think Murray probably has a little bit more upside, and potentially if he's lining up on that left side, running against the debutants that we've already talked about, he could be an absolute handful. And we've seen some real magic from him, both, at the Cowboys and then for Queensland as well. So let's fingers crossed we get some magic between, him, Sewer, Hammer, and then potentially Reece, sweeping around the back there somewhere as well. What do you reckon, Moi?
I think it's just a matter of we're short on options, and Murray Taulagi is the best of a pretty poor bunch. And you're right, him being on the left wing, probably that little bit more likely to score a try, and scoring a try is obviously going to bring a lot of GDS points. And I think Walsh favours that left-hand side. So I can just see, Walsh making a half break, and maybe Murray Taulagi, pushing up on his left or right and finding the line. But look, the difference between Taulagi and Coates might not be a lot, but I've probably got a little bit more faith in Taulagi. Why have you gone Coates, JT?
Oh, it was just based as a coin flip, really. There wasn't much in it at all. I had a look at how each player performed last year, and between the two of them, Coates didn't play in game one. But in game two, I've got it here in front of me, Coates scored 50 points, Taulagi 39. In game three, Taulagi scored 28 and Coates 25. So 1-1 in that department. I do prefer the left edge, to be fair, of the Maroons team. It was more of a pod play because I thought most people would go Taulagi. And if it was to go right, I can see Hammer, because Hammer, I think, is going to command a lot of attention tonight. He scored tries in every game. We'll go into this more in the next position. He scored tries in every game last year. Well, the Blues will be aware of that. Are they going to chop in on him, leave Coates exposed out wide to dot over? Who knows? So a little bit of narrative there. But yeah, I think there isn't much between it, maybe 5-10 points at the end of the day. But I've just chosen Coates because I think Hammer might be more looked after than Holmes in the centres when it comes to the New South Wales defence.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we've all gone Brian Toto because he's that safest winger out there. He'll probably get through plenty of work as well as Lomax and push past that 200 metres. So he's a no-brainer. And I'm actually thinking about playing that silver Brian Toto, given that, sometimes he can push some numbers similar to those middle forwards. And in the wet again, he might be slippery and be able to break plenty of tackles. Because is that the same reason why you chose Toto?
Yeah. And looking at those stats again over the last 3 years, left wingers and versus Queensland since 2021, they've averaged 46.6 points. So I think, Toto makes it up pretty quickly with his 200 odd average run meters. And then he's got, bucket load of tackle breaks in Origin. And, his own average on the left side is 53.2. So I could see him getting to that quite easily, and then potentially, going past that, blitzing that, with his high ceiling.
Yeah, I agree with all the shots about Tahoe. He's just a meter eater. He's so hard running. What was it last year? I think he averaged about 230. 211 meters over each game. So there's 21 points right there and that's just such a safe base at this sort of level when you do have Taulagi, Coates. Yeah, it's a conflict between those two, and Toto is easily number one for me.
Good stuff.
Love it. Oh. Don't know if you guys can hear me. Hopefully you can. My mic's making some noises, but fullbacks, you've all gone pretty vanilla, and you've all gone the same. So I won't throw at anyone in particular. I'll throw to the floor. You're all obviously thinking the same thing. Who wants to take it away?
Yeah, I'll start off with Teddy, and then I'll let the boys talk about the others, and then JT can jump in about Teddy as well. Obviously, it's his boy, but I think the narrative is the big one for me. We know what he's like. I think he averages 8.5 tackle breaks per game at Origin level. So, that's 25 odd GDS points there in tackle breaks, and then everything else on top of that, I think is huge. He averages 240 run meters in the last 3 years at Origin level as well. So once again, a really safe floor. But I think, like I said, it's the narrative, missing selection, being called up last minute at home, I think I'm really, as a Queenslander, as a Queensland fan, I'm really nervous about what Teddy could do to us tonight. JT, what do you reckon? About the same?
Yeah, I think he's going to have Ben in his bonnet, man. Like, he just wants to go and, I'm not going to say prove those haters, he was just not selected. That selection did surprise me quite a bit. I just thought being the captain, cut like that, but I'm not going to take anything away from Edwards. He's just been having a phenomenal year. But I think he is going to have a point to prove tonight that he is still the best New South Wales #1. He's been given a second chance, and I think he's going to try and make every post a winner at home. And it's all about those tackle breaks, like you said, like 8.5. You're looking at 24 GDS points, 25 points right there. And what else can you ask for from a fullback? Yes, he might get a try, get a line break, feed it to the winger. There's going to be assists left, right, and centre. Hopefully the conditions allow for a little bit, but I think he's quite a good defensive fullback at times. Yeah, hopefully he's got his long sprigs on tonight, but we don't want to see him sliding all over the place. I just want to see some better reads in defence that he has done sometimes for the Roosters this year, but I think he's going to have a big game.
Yeah, I feel his ball playing probably isn't quite up to scratch. He does cop a lot of criticism for it, but also he can do that lovely tip on, particularly on that right-hand side. So he could see some try assists and that sort of thing. But what I love most about Reece Walsh in our fullback lines is that he can ball play really well, although he is prone to those intercepts. So I think he might have to hold on the ball and watch what Stephen Crichton does for those first few runs, because we know Crichton's very likely to grab an intercept. But I love having Reece Walsh in that team. He's that real sort of rocks or diamonds type player. He's that wild card. He could have a monster game and have 3 line breaks in a try. But, you know, in the same story, I wouldn't be surprised to see if he had 3 or 4 errors and have a score of 20 to 25. We really don't know with Reece Walsh, but we know that he'll be exciting to watch.
Yeah, no, 100%. He didn't really have a good New South Wales Queensland series in GDS last year, but with the caliber of players that you have available in the bench positions this year, I think he's definitely deserves his chance as what the ceiling he can offer coaches. But yeah, one of my favourites is Hammer for this, and it's just because he set the series a lot last year, and I hate saying that being a Blues fan, I really do, but I just want him well defended tonight. I'm really torn. I want to see us win, but I don't want to see I want his points. So it wouldn't surprise me if he dots down again. Here's a handful. He's so quick off the line. He burns the centres for speed. We've seen his breakaway tries how many times? 3 or 4 times this year from the back for the Dolphins. He's not going to be playing there, but I just think he's going to be a handful, even in these conditions, for the New South Wales defence. And you do see him, how to say this, he sort of does what Turbo does at the same time. He does like to lurk in between and behind the half, so you might even see him just move out of position sometimes. He does like to sort of roam a little bit, I've noticed at times. This is at fullback, but even in Queensland last year, you just sort of saw him, should I go into the ruck area or not? He just has that extra dynamic to be defending against. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does from a GDS point of view.
Yeah, he's that one player, I think. Well, most Queenslanders are able to change positions and look like they're doing it pretty easily. He just glides in that left centre position. So even though he's playing out of position, he doesn't normally play there for Clubland. I've still got plenty of faith in him. And that combination with Walsh should be exciting. It's just a shame that it's going to be pretty wet. I'd love to see both of them in a dry game. So maybe game 2, game 3, they can put things together and score us plenty of points.
Yep. Hammer's a lock for me. I was lucky enough this morning. I pulled his Queensland card, so he definitely was one of the first in the team this morning. And I'm hoping he has a massive game. And like you said, hoping that Walshy there supports him and maybe sweeping around and joining him on that side there, on that left side.
Sweet.
Beautiful. We've just got one more question from Harry in here. Sitter Cobbo likely terrorising New South Wales through the middle like a giant Matty Bowen.
Oh, that, I'll just love to see how many minutes he'll get just running off that rucker. It's just some of those runs this year is great to watch, and he's been a real GDS asset. That would just be absolutely hilarious seeing that.
That would be good. Guys, we're going to move on to rapid fire in a moment. But before we do that, I know you guys, we've spoken about your squads. We've just gone through them. Any changes that you want to make based on the team staying the exact same?
I think maybe, but I can't think at the moment. So as soon as we finish this in the next 10 or 15 minutes or something, I'll grab out the phone and probably make a few panic trades, but nothing at the moment. Quasi, what about you?
Yeah, I'm the same. I'll take a look soon and see what's out there, and maybe have a look at that pre-game warm-up to see who's lining up on which side.
Can't give too much away, Cal.
Yeah, I've got a question for both you boys. A real quick one is when it comes to the New South Wales or Queensland cards, and they maybe have a player that we haven't really spoken about, but they're not far away from the starting lineup. How hard is it not to play them if you sit on somebody else? Or do you sort of automatically lean to be playing that 1.4 multiplier? I think that'll be a question for a few coaches as well.
Yeah, well, I've got the Lindsay Collins Queensland card, but he hasn't made my team. I love him. I think he'll have a great game, but I just feel like the other middles are probably a bit more assured of those points, and playing Collins means I can't play one of those five that I've got in my team, and I don't know who I'd sub out of that team to field Lindsay Collins, but. Yeah, look, I don't think just because you have an Origin card, you have to play it. But it wouldn't happen too often. I mean, like if you had a Selwyn Cobbo, it'd be pretty tough to play him. Although, like an early injury, playing Cobbo, his Origin card could pay off and be the reason why you get to the top of that leaderboard. But just because you've got that Origin card doesn't mean you have to field it, I don't think. Same with maybe Harry Grant.
Yeah, I agree. It's tough sometimes though to put the blinders on and go, nah, I'm going to focus on the team that I've picked. And I guess that the same thing kind of happens with your diamonds in the normal competition as well. You see a diamond, you think, yeah, that might be worth playing, but there's obviously some better options out there potentially. So yeah, I don't necessarily think you have to play your Queensland or New South Wales card.
Yeah, love it. Maybe for a few pods like me and Harry Grant, because there's no way I'm beating you guys unless I'm doing something different. So that's the strategy I'm going to be going with. All right, let's finish it off. Bit of rapid fire before we get onto the action. Very quickly, give me a top scorer. And so this is obviously the person that you'd be thinking about putting your most salary cap on tonight.
Payne Haas.
Yeah, I have to agree. That was the first name that came to mind as well, Payne Haas.
I've just for someone different. I'll say Teddy, James Tedesco. I just think, the narrative potentially.
Love it. Who's one player you've left off your squad that's terrifying you right now?
Maybe Harry Grant.
Yeah, I agree. Not knowing.
Yeah.
Probably Harry Grant.
Yeah, Tom Deedham for me, as I've gone the low option.
Nice. What would you take tonight? A fantasy win or a win for your team?
I've had plenty of fantasy wins, Cal, so I'm happy to pass that on to someone else, and I'd be more than happy to see the Maroons get up.
Well, I'll take his fantasy win, and he can take the Maroons winning. So there we go. We've done the double.
No, I'm going to join more in this one. It's been a while since New South Wales got a game one. Haven't won a series for a few years, so I think we're well due. So I'll go the Blues.
For the record, I'd take a fantasy win. Last one. Who wins? How much?
New South Wales by 4.
Maroons 18-14.
Yeah, I've gone Maroons as well, and I think I put in 32-12.
Ooh, hiding.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it. What a great note to finish on. Thank you guys for jumping on. That was awesome. I hope everyone following along enjoyed that just as much as I did. We've got another half an hour until lockout happens. So, yeah, plenty of time for everyone to go back and watch it if you missed it at the start. Thank you to everyone who joined on the stream tonight and followed along and answered questions. If you did enjoy it, please let the guys know. We're looking forward to having these guys back and potentially do a bit more in the rugby league space as well. So if you didn't enjoy it, let us know and we can definitely organize more of it. So I think there we'll wrap it up, guys. Thanks again. Enjoy the games and we'll speak to you guys soon.
Thanks mate. See you guys.
Catch guys up the blue.